It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at King's Life. The king is very bored, and it is up to the players to entertain that king for every day he's not working, which in fact is basically every other day but Monday just about, because he works on Monday and he's bored the rest of the week. And so you, the players, are going to be putting on feasts and putting on tournaments, putting on dances, things like that to entertain the king. And whoever is able to do that more effectively is going to get the most glory and win the game. But you can also be a little bit tricky and mess with the other players. You can even support someone else in their endeavors and maybe steal a little bit of that glory as they gain it. So let's take a look at how this works. Then we'll come on back and I'll tell you what I think of it. So here's everything that comes with the game. The objective for the players around the table is to entertain the king with the most lavish of activities, and by doing so, you are going to get victory points. Depending on the day of the week, you are going to get some victory points. So Tuesday and Wednesday, 1 victory point if you're the winner. Then 2 points Thursday and Friday. Saturday is 3 points. And you might also get victory points from assisting other players when they win. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. So to set up the game, everybody is going to get one of these standees. They'll get a matching support token. So for now, I'll just leave the queen out here. I'll remove the rest of these out of the way. And then the queen support token looks just like that. There is also a star player token over here. We'll move that aside as well. And then everything else has been set up. The day is in order. These shields randomized, and these I'll deal with in just 1 second. These are the different activities that the king might be interested in. We're going to shuffle up the deck of cards. Everybody is going to get a number of cards based on the number of players. So usually it'll be 6 cards. So I'll just give myself 6 here. Move this up here. And then we are going to figure out for the first day what the king would most like to do. So these 4 cards are the 4 different activities. You have tourneys, dance, hunt, and a feast. So a tournament, a dance, a hunt, a feast. We're going to shuffle them up. We're going to set them out here. So what the king would most like to do is go hunting. And then the next thing he might be interested in is a feast, then dancing, and then the last one is actually placed face down and off the board. That one for this day will be worthless. Those cards are no good this round. And then we'll start taking turns. Each player on their turn, well, the first thing we do actually is we set a card into place, and everyone simultaneously will do this, and then you reveal that one card, and that begins your display, which is your suggestions to the king. At the end of the round, when everyone has passed, we'll take a look at who has the single strongest showing for any one activity. Not combining activities, but a single activity having the strongest combo, the highest value of all the cards combined. And that player is going to win the day. Now, the activity here at the top, the difference with that is that the total you have in that is going to get a +1 as indicated here on the board. So even though I've played a 2 in hunting, my total right now in hunting is 3. And then I'll begin taking turns. So on my turn, I can do one of 2 things. I can play a card. It can be a suggestion card, one of these, or it can be a character card, like this one here, which is going to do some effect. And the second thing I can do is I can simply pass. If I pass, I will knock down my standee to let everyone know I have passed, and I may support someone else. All right. The way supporting in this game works is if I think I'm not going to win, I'm running out of good cards, I clearly am not going to be pulling ahead, then I could pass and give my support token to a different player around the table who does not have a support token yet. Everybody can only have one of these. So if they've been supported, I cannot also support. But if Joe over there is doing pretty well and they don't have any support tokens yet, I could give this to them. And then I can give them a card from my display to add to their display. And if that person wins, they get the day card. I get the shield that's sitting here on the board. And the shield is a random amount of victory points. We don't know what it is unless you have a card that lets you look at it. but it's anywhere between 2 and no points. As you can see, 2 1s, 2 2s, and a 0. These would be face down, so you don't know what you're getting. And you could even end up doing better than the person that wins the day. In this case, for example, if I help Joe and Joe wins, he gets the Tuesday card, which is 1 victory point, and hey, I got 2 victory points instead of 1. So I actually did better than they did. But that's the idea. Taking this back a little bit, I have this in front of me. Here, we'll face it towards you. And then I could play another card for my second go. In this case, also a hunt card with a value of 3 right there. It goes back around the table. When it comes back to me, I might play this card, which is a person, a character. In this case, a merchant. The merchant says, play this card next to an activity card in your display. This card's value is doubled. And so I could do this, the merchant, with this 3, that is now a 6, and my total in hunt would be 6, 7, 8, plus 1, 9. You never draw cards in this game unless a card tells you to, and so eventually everyone will drop out, and at that point we compare and see what happens. This card is going to go out to the winner. This shield is going to go out if anyone supported that winner. If no one did, the shield is simply removed. And then we are going to grab all these cards, shuffle them back up. If anyone kept any cards in their hand, they remain there. They'll refill their hands, but they keep anything they carried from round to round. And everyone's standees are stood back up, and this is reset. The way this works is we'll slide these 3 off. The one that was not in play at all, in fact, becomes the preferred thing for next round. And then the other 3 are shuffled, and you are going to finish setting up like this. And then the last one, again, simply off the board face down. You are allowed to play those cards that are of the face down activity, but they are worth nothing. And that's it. Continue doing that as you've played through all of the days, and then at the end of those days, you'll figure out who has the high score. So let's say I won Thursday, and I got this, and I got this shield. Well, my total is 2, 4, 5 victory points. The last thing I'm going to do is just show you some of the special action cards so you have an idea of the sort of abilities you are going to be seeing as you are playing the game. So, for example, Sorcerer, play this card next to an activity card in your display and change the suit of this card for any other suit of your choice. So I can make a tourney card become a feast card, for example. All right, let's see what else we've got around here. This astrologer says lets you look at a face-down support token. This guard says that you pass and support a player who already has support, and the former support is canceled. So you give that player their support token back, and you instead are the one supporting now. And let's see, you already saw the merchant who doubles a card. Let's look through some more. I'm just going to show you a couple more of these. Here we go, Peon. This one says, play this card to play your support token in front of another player without passing and without giving him a card. So you can sort of get the best of both worlds if you do that. Chamberlain. This one says, swap 2 activity cards in the King's Will. So you can do this sort of thing to make something better for yourself. And then there's a few cards, just a couple of them, that actually have victory points right on them, like the little prince here says. This card will be kept by the winning support of the day, and it is 1 victory point. So there you go. That'll give you an idea of the kinds of things you are going to encounter in the game. It's very mean. There's going to be a lot of cards moving around. There's going to be a lot of take-that style actions. You can play cards to remove other people's cards, steal them, move them, all sorts of things. But I think that gives you an idea of how the whole thing moves and operates. Let's go back up top. Let me give you some final thoughts. All right, so there we go. That is King's Life. Let's take a look at some talking points, shall we? Let's start with thematic ties. First thing I want to mention before I dig into it too deep here is that this is a reprint of a game put out from Fantasy Flight Games called Smiley Face, which had an emoji theme, okay, if you want to call it a theme. So I'm going to be comparing this a little bit to that game just in case you are familiar with that original design. It's the same game, really, that original printing of it. And starting right away from thematic ties, The emoji game, that was a really bad theme. That was a theme that just was not interesting or appealing to me or really anybody I think I ever played with. And I used to play with high school kids, so. But this one I think has a really neat theme. It's sort of a dry theme, but if you get into the idea of, putting on a fantastic feast and all these, putting on a fantastic gala and things like that, then yeah, I think it's going to liven up a little bit. And I definitely do like the theme in this better than what they did before. The aesthetics here, I'm of two minds when it comes to the aesthetics. I love the artwork in the game. I think the artwork is really funny. It's very tongue-in-cheek in many ways. It's bright. It's interesting, especially compared to, again, the smiley face game. But I think the graphic design in the game is unfortunately pretty bad. I don't like the index on the cards. It's very small. It's hard to read on the table. The text on the power cards, on the special character cards, is very tiny. There's a lot more they could have done to make the usability of the game match the fantastic artwork in the game. I love the look of the artwork. I just don't like how usability got relegated to the back in order to showcase the fun illustrations. And that's never okay with me, sacrificing the ability to play easily to put the artwork front and center. So, replayability and scalability. I think the replayability is pretty good. This is a fun game as long as everybody's okay with the take-that nature of the whole thing. I think you're going to have a lot of laughs and a lot of replayability in this one. And the scalability for me is not as good. I don't like it with the upper end of players because I think it makes the game a little too long and too slap happy. You can just sort of like smack people around a little too much. So I prefer, let's say 5 players. The game length is fine for the most part, except, again, if you are playing with the full complement, if you're playing with 7 people or more than that, it's going to be too long for me. It's too long for how chaotic the game is. And so if you are okay with completely chaotic or largely chaotic games, then I don't think it'll be as much of a problem for you. But for me, too long for that amount of randomness. The ease of play. I already talked a little bit about the iconography and the problem I have with that. As far as fiddliness goes, I don't find the game to be particularly fiddly. There's not that many moving parts that you need to sort of track on the table. You'll steal cards from people, but that's easy enough. And the layout on the little board they give you of the ranking of the different activities and the shields that sit on that board, that's all very nicely done. So I'm glad that was dealt with in a very straightforward manner. And then lastly, I'll talk about tactics and strategy and, of course, luck. The game has a lot of luck. It is a take-that style game. You are going to be... Your strategy does not carry over from one round to the next. You are just reacting to the hand of cards you've been dealt. If you have a card now that you know will be better next turn, then keep it, and play it next turn. That's about it. Play a strong hand. If you see someone's stronger than you, no one supported them yet, support them. That's sort of as far as it goes when it comes to how to tactically react to what's going on, which is fine, don't get me wrong. For this style of game, that's okay. That's what I want to be doing. But you have to make sure the turns are going quickly, and unfortunately, I find the text and the icons, again, to hinder that a little bit, to make people slow down a little more than I'd liked in order to look across the table and go, what kind of thing is that? Oh, right, okay, yeah, I have some of those. I'll give you one if I support you. And, the text on the special cards is a little small. All of that stuff. So that's it for my thoughts on this one. I certainly enjoy the game. I used to like Smiley Face, and I kept that game for a while, in fact, despite the issues I had with the theme, which just was sort of not bad, but completely unappealing and uninteresting. But I'll tell you what, those cards were easy to read. They had nice big numbers in the corner. The card was easy to tell what suit it belonged to, which of the 4 different kinds of activities. The special cards had nice large text on them. And unfortunately, I hate to say, because I was really excited about this one being reprinted with a much cooler theme, with the awesome illustrations. but I am just not very happy with the graphic design in this one. I think that the ball got dropped a little bit on that front. So that hurts it for me, I have to say. And I'm not sure how often it's going to keep me from bringing the game to the table, but it'll definitely factor into my teaching this to a new group, having to get over that issue of, things not being quite as legible as I'd like. So there you go. I do enjoy it. I do recommend the game. I think it's a neat game. I think it's a well put together package for the most part. But unfortunately, King's Life, from a production point of view, is not without its faults.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.